If you're single, almost every Social Security video you've ever watched was quietly made for somebody else. They talk about spousal benefits, about protecting a surviving husband or wife with a bigger check. You have neither of those, so that advice was never really about you. And here's what nobody says out loud. Being single doesn't just remove options, it flips the whole decision. With no one to inherit your check, waiting is a bet only on your own years. And yet, a bigger check is the only safety net you've got, because there's no second income behind you. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the claiming decision bill for one. Honestly, no spouse required. Welcome in. I'm Ray. I spent a lot of years helping people make sense of Social Security, and this episode is one I've been wanting to make for a long time. Today is for you if you never married, or if a marriage ended before it reached 10 years. In other words, if you're walking into retirement with one name on the Social Security statement, and that name is yours. I want to do this honestly, at a walking pace, with numbers you can go check for yourself. No scare tactics, no sales pitch at the end. Just the claiming decision the way it actually looks when you're deciding for one, because that decision deserves its own episode, not a footnote at the end of somebody else's. Let me start by naming something you may have felt for years. Almost all standard claiming advice begins from a hidden assumption, and that assumption is a couple. The playbook everyone quotes was built around two features of the system. First, the spousal benefit, which can pay one partner up to 50% of the other partner's full benefit. Second, survivor protection, where the larger of the two checks lives on for whoever is left behind. Entire strategies revolve around those two things. When to file so a wife can claim on a husband's record. Why the higher earner should wait so the survivor keeps a bigger check for life. When you're single, neither of those features exists for you, not in a smaller form, not at all. Maybe you've sat through a retirement seminar where every slide said you and your spouse, and you quietly did the subtraction in your head. Maybe you've read a dozen articles that spent 9 paragraphs on coordinating 2 benefits and 1 sentence on everyone else. That low hum of frustration is not your imagination, and it's not oversensitivity. The math for couples genuinely is different, and advice built on that math simply doesn't fit your life. It changes which questions you should even be asking. That's what today is about. Let's clear the clutter away first, because there's good news hiding in it. Think about the number one reason experts tell people to delay claiming. It's usually this: protect your spouse. When one spouse dies, the survivor keeps the larger of the two checks, so planners tell the higher earner in a couple to wait until 70, almost as a form of life insurance. That reasoning is real, and for couples, it's often right. For you, that reason is simply gone. Nobody inherits your check. There's no younger wife or husband depending on you locking in a bigger survivor benefit. Delay or don't delay, no one else's future check changes either way. The second thing that's gone is the coordination puzzle. You'll never need to time your filing so a partner can claim half your benefit. There's no chess game of who files first and who waits. Your check is only ever yours, start to finish. It begins the month you claim it, and it ends with you. Some people hear that and feel a little sting, and I understand. I'd invite you to hear it a different way. Clarity. Roughly 2/3 of the complicated material in Social Security planning just left the room. What remains is smaller, plainer, and entirely about you. Strip away the couple strategy, and the whole decision comes down to 2 honest questions. Question 1. How long am I likely to live? Not how long you hope, and not the scary number your worry supplies at 2 in the morning. The honest read. How's your health right now, really? Any conditions that tend to shorten life? Or are you the person who still walks 3 miles a day? What about your family? Did your parents and grandparents make it deep into their 80s and 90s? Or did most of them go early? None of us knows the answer for certain, but you know more about your own odds than any calculator does. Question 2. Do I need the money now? This one is practical, not philosophical. If you're 62 and the job is gone, or your body is done with the work you trained for, and this check is what pays rent and buys groceries, that answers most of the question right there. If you have savings, or work you can keep doing, or some other income that can carry you a few more years, then you have a genuine choice, and it's worth making carefully. Health and honest need. Everything else in this episode is really just detail hanging off those two questions. Notice what's missing from that list. Nothing about a partner's age, a partner's earnings, a partner's health. The couples have to juggle all of that. You get to sit with two questions, take your time, and answer them truthfully. That's the whole job. Here's the frame, and I'll keep it short because you may have heard pieces of it before. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. Claim at 62, the earliest possible age, and you take roughly a 30% cut, permanently. You keep about 70% of your full amount for life. Claim at 67, and you get 100%. Keep waiting past 67, and your benefit grows about 8% for every year you wait, up to age 70. At 70, you'd get about 124% of your full amount. After 70, the growth stops completely, so there's never a reason to wait past that. Let's put round dollars on it. Say your full benefit at 67 would be $2,000 a month. Claim at 62, and you'd get about $1,400. Wait until 70, and you'd get about $2,480. That's more than $1,000 a month of difference, every month for the rest of your life, and it rises with inflation. The trade, of course, is all those years of checks you skipped while waiting. That's where break-even comes in. For 62 versus 70, the crossover lands around age 80. Live well past 80, and waiting wins on total lifetime dollars. Pass away before 80, and claiming early put more money in your pocket. Hold on to that age, because for a single person, it means something different than the calculators suggest. Here's where being single changes the meaning of that break-even number. For a married person, delaying is partly a gift to someone else. Even if the husband who waited until 70 dies at 73, his widow may collect that bigger check for 20 more years. The bet is spread across 2 lifetimes. For you, the bet rides on your years alone. Let me say the hard part plainly, because you deserve plain. If you delay to 70 and die at 74, the bigger check dies with you. No survivor collects it. Those years of waiting bought fewer checks, and there's no second lifetime to redeem the bet. That risk is real, and I won't pretend otherwise. But the other side of the coin is just as real, and for many of you, it's heavier. If you live long, that bigger, inflation-protected check is the only safety net you have. There is no spouse's pension arriving next to yours, no partner savings account. No second check hitting the bank on the 3rd of the month. When you're 88 and single, your Social Security check may be the whole show. Now look at the actual odds, calmly. A 65-year-old man today has about a 50-50 chance of reaching 84. A 65-year-old woman, about 87. Roughly 1 in 4 people who make it to 65 will live past 90. Those aren't long-shot numbers. That's a coin flip, and a very live one. Put it together, and you get the single person's paradox. Yes, waiting is a bet on your own years with no backup collector. Yet if you're healthy, the case for waiting is arguably stronger for you than for a married person, not weaker, because a long life with a small check and no partner's income is the one outcome you can't easily fix later. For a healthy single person, longevity insurance matters more, not less. Nobody is coming with a second check. One more idea deserves an honest word because you'll run into it online. Some people say claim at 62 anyway and invest the money and let the market outrun the delay. On paper, if your investments earned a steady 5%, the break-even point can stretch out toward age 90, which makes early claiming look clever. In real life, that plan asks you to actually invest every dollar instead of spending it, to stomach the down years without selling, and to accept that markets promise nothing. Social Security promises quite a lot. It's guaranteed by law, it's adjusted for inflation every year, and it arrives no matter what stocks did last quarter. I'm not telling you the invest it idea is foolish. I'm telling you it's a market bet layered on top of a longevity bet, and for a single person with no second income behind them, that's a lot of bet. Know that before you choose it. Before we go further, one important nuance, because single covers more than one story, and I don't want anyone leaving money on the table. If you were married for at least 10 years, you're divorced, and you are currently unmarried, you may be able to claim up to 50% of your ex's full benefit based on their record. It doesn't reduce their check by a dime, and they're never even notified. 10 years and 1 day of marriage counts. 9 years and 11 months does not. If you are widowed, survivor benefits may be open to you, with their own ages and rules that are worth a careful look. If either of those describes you, please check your options before you decide anything, because you may have a claiming path this episode doesn't cover. There's no shame in using it. You earned it by the rules as written. The framework in this episode is for the truly single. Never married, or married for less than 10 years. If that's you, everything I'm saying today applies fully, and this is your episode. Let me be straight about why I care so much that you get this decision right. Unmarried retirees lean on Social Security harder than anyone else. Depending on the study, somewhere between 75 and 91% of unmarried people, 65 and older, receive Social Security income. About half of all seniors count on it for at least half of their income, and roughly 1 in 4 rely on it for 90% or more. Among all of these groups, unmarried older women are the most financially vulnerable people in American retirement. No partner's pension, no partner's 401k, no second earner's history to fall back on. When this check is the floor you stand on, the size of the check is not a detail. It is the retirement. Let me tell you about a woman I'll call Joan. Never married. Turned 62 last spring. 31 years keeping the books for a plumbing supply company in Ohio. She has about $60,000 saved, decent health, and a mother who lived to 91. When her 62nd birthday came, claiming felt like a door swinging open, and she very nearly walked through it that first month. One night she sat at her kitchen table with a notepad and did the honest arithmetic instead. Claiming now meant about $1,400 a month. Waiting until 70 meant roughly $1,000 more every month for life. She kept coming back to her mother's 91 years. Joan decided that her savings, plus a few more years of work, maybe part-time toward the end, could bridge her to 67 and possibly beyond, and she'd rather have the bigger check waiting for the long haul. That is not the right answer for everyone watching this. It was the right answer for Joan because she looked at her own health, her own family history, and her own bank balance, and she chose on purpose instead of by default. I'd like you to try Joan's kitchen table exercise yourself this week. 3 questions, plain ones, pencil and paper. 1. What does my honest health picture say, and how long did the people in my family actually live? Write down real ages, not impressions. Your doctor visits and your family's record will tell you more than any online calculator. 2. Can I bridge the gap? Do I have savings, work income, or both that could carry me from 62 to 67 or even 70 without making myself miserable? Or do I need this check soon to keep the lights on? Hear me on this. Needing it now is a real answer, not a failure. The benefit exists for exactly that. 3. Am I truly single in Social Security's eyes? Or is there a 10-year marriage in my past, or a late spouse whose record I should check before deciding? 10 minutes of checking could be worth hundreds of dollars a month. Write your 3 answers down where you can see them together. Most people who do this find the fog lifts quite a bit. The decision doesn't get easy, but it gets clear, and clear is what we're after. Here's my closing thought, and it's the one I most want you to carry out the door. There is no shame in either choice. If you claim at 62 because you need the money, or because your health says take it now, or simply because you want your time back while your knees still work, that is a legitimate use of a benefit you earned across a working lifetime. If you wait towards 70 because you're healthy and you want the biggest possible floor under your 80s and 90s, that's legitimate too. Both paths are used by millions of sensible people. What I want for you is a decision made on purpose. Your numbers, your health, your savings, your call. Not a default you drifted into, and not advice built for a couple you're not half of. Here's one quiet advantage you have that the couples don't. You don't need anyone's agreement. No negotiating, no compromise between 2 retirement dreams. The decision is yours alone, and that isn't a burden. That's freedom. The usual reminder, because it matters. This channel is education, not financial advice, and I don't know your health, your savings, or your full story. Open your own account at ssa.gov. Look at your real benefit numbers at 62, 67, and 70. And if you want personal guidance, sit down with a qualified professional who will look at your whole picture. Thanks for spending this time with me today. If this episode helped, pass it along to a single friend who's been quietly watching videos made for somebody else. I'm Ray. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.